Welcome to NTD Business. I'm Don Ma. The Dow Jones Industrial Average and S&P 500 index rose modestly on Wednesday. Now, the Dow is on pace for its 8th straight day of gains, but a decline in Microsoft held the Nasdaq near the unchanged mark. Bank stocks extended their rally with the S&P Bank Index rising a third straight session of gains. S&P 500 gained 10 points or 0.2%. Nasdaq gained 3 points or 0.03%. The Dow Jones added 109 points or 0.3%. Second quarter earnings are expected to have declined 8.2%. This is according to Refinitiv data, more than the 5.7% fall expected at the start of the month. And the Biden administration is suspending funding for the Wuhan Institute of Virology. That follows a month-long review that determined the Chinese Research Institute was not compliant with federal safety regulations. The Department of Health and Human Services is also barring the Wuhan Institute from doing business with the federal government. The facility plays a central role in theories that the COVID-19 pandemic originated from a lab leak there in late 2019. But investigators have yet to commit to a definitive conclusion of its origins. And a group of 20 U.S. lawmakers on Wednesday said they have agreed not to intervene in the case workers at UPS go on a strike. The world's biggest package delivery firm and the International Brotherhood of Teamsters have until midnight on July 31st to reach a contract deal covering some 340,000 workers that sort, load, and deliver packages in the United States. The lawmakers said if no deal is reached, they have committed to respect the rights of workers, quote, to withhold their labor and initiate and participate in a strike. And the White House on Tuesday, along with companies like Amazon and Google and Best Buy, will announce an initiative that allows Americans to identify devices that are resistant to cyber attacks. Take a look.
Today, in partnership with the FCC, we're launching a cybersecurity certification and labeling program.
The White House on Tuesday announced a partnership with some of the largest names in tech and retail to help Americans to identify products that are more resistant to cyber attacks. The initiative, which includes Google, Amazon, and Best Buy, would create a new certification and labeling program and would raise the bar for cybersecurity across an array of smart devices. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre.
In 2024, the program will be up and running, and soon after, Americans will be able to look for the Cyber Trust Mark's distinct shield. Just like the logo on the screens behind me, across common household devices such as baby monitors, home security cameras, fitness trackers, and smart TVs, and refrigerators of all price ranges. The logo will indicate to Americans shopping online or in stores that device they're buying meets the U.S. government's cybersecurity requirements and is less vulnerable to cyber attacks.
According to a senior administration official who did not wish to be named, the initiative is designed to make sure, quote, our networks and the use of them is more secure because it is so important for economic and national security. The White House said that the Federal Communications Commission will seek public comment before rolling out the labeling program and register a national trademark with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. In March, the White House launched its national cyber strategy that called on software makers and companies to take far greater responsibility to ensure that their systems cannot be hacked. It also accelerated efforts by agencies such as the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Defense Department to disrupt activities of hackers and ransomware groups around the world.
JP Morgan Chase says American families are building their savings accounts back up slower than they did in the past. Analysts at the bank's think tank say customers have 10 to 15% more money in their accounts than they did in 2019. Now, that's good, but when you consider inflation, a different story emerges. 2 years ago, top earners had enough money to continue normal spending for 43 days without any income. Now they have just over a month's worth of spending money. That means fewer people have the resources to weather a recession than in the past. Meanwhile, new home construction in the U.S. fell 8% last month. Housing starts dropped to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 1.43 million. This is below economists' expectations. The June cool-off was quite a turnaround from May's surprising surge. It came as low inventory in the existing home market continued to boost interest in new homes. The housing market has likely reached a bottom after being pushed into recession by the Federal Reserve's aggressive monetary policy tightening. But with the average rate on the popular 30-year fixed mortgage approaching 7%, according to data from mortgage finance agency Freddie Mac, the anticipated housing market rebound could be muted. And Hollywood hopes for a big 1-2 punch with Barbie and Oppenheimer as migration prepares to fly into theaters. Here's more.
Will Barbenheimer save the box office? Industry observers forecast Barbie could be the first film to debut with $100 million or more since Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse in early June, while Oppenheimer, with higher IMAX ticket prices to help make up for its R rating and 3-hour running time, could be looking at a $50 million opening weekend. With Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 expected to bring in $25 million or more, this could be the biggest box office weekend in a while.
They must be
3 major U.S. regional banks met or beat profit expectations on Wednesday. This is because higher interest rates allowed them to charge more for loans. Meanwhile, deposits also stabilized. And this is sending shares across the sector up. Investors have been anxiously awaiting regional bank second quarter earnings as they look for reassurance that the turmoil that rocked the sector earlier this year has finally passed. M&T Bank Corporation said net interest income surged 27%. Meanwhile, at U.S. Bancorp, net interest income was up around 28%. Net interest income measures the difference between what banks earn on loans and pay out on deposits. Big banks like Goldman Sachs also reported earnings, though its profit plunged 58%. And Netflix has removed its basic ad-free plan in the U.S. and the U.K. This is as the company tries to draw more subscribers to its ad-supported tier. The company said on its website the $9.99 a month basic plan would no longer be available for new or rejoining members. Users, though, who are already on the plan could continue to remain on it until they change plans or cancel their account. The streaming video pioneer had launched a $7 per month option with commercials last November as an alternative to ad-free plans. It was designed to attract more customers and add a new revenue stream as competition for online viewers intensified. And finally, U.S. industrial production of defense equipment hits a record high, according to the latest Federal Reserve data. The war in Ukraine has contributed to a humming U.S. defense industry. And here to talk to me about this is Rick Fisher, military expert and senior fellow at the International Assessment and Strategy Center. Now, Rick, the U.S.'s industrial production of defense equipment hitting a record high. Is this a good thing?
Absolutely. The United States has basically been out of a war production level of military production activity for 3 or 4 generations. The United States is now facing potential global military threats, the prospect of fighting or having to fight 2, maybe 3 wars in Europe, on the Taiwan Strait, and on the Korean Peninsula. Our enemies have been preparing for 3 wars for the last 30 years. It is long overdue for the United States to ramp up military production in order to build the stockpiles necessary to prove to North Korea, to China, and to Russia that the West is ready to meet them on the battlefield so that they don't make that decision to actually go there. The Ukraine war, while awful and tragic for the people of Ukraine, has served as a vital wake-up for NATO, for the United States, and for America's allies in Asia. They now see that war is on the horizon, and they are all increasing their capacity to produce military materiel, as well as they are building up their military capabilities. All of this is good, but it has to happen even faster.
Now, there's another dynamic to this. The war in Ukraine, in large part, is contributing to this increase in production of defense equipment. And the U.S. is providing aid to Ukraine, so that means we're giving away these weapons to Ukraine. So let me get your comments on this dynamic. Is it still a good thing when we're giving these weapons away?
Well, it's far better to give weapons to Ukraine than to give them our young men, young women. And if we do not prevail in Ukraine, if Ukraine is not able to remain free, Russia is going to start more wars. China is going to be tempted to start wars. And our younger generation is going to be facing something they have that American youth have not had to face since the 1960s, and that is a draft, because there will be no other way for the United States to meet the demands of 2, possibly 3 wars than to re-implement the draft.
Now, the worry is, though, is this depleting U.S. stockpiles? What are your thoughts?
Well, absolutely, it is. But again, this is the choice that is forced upon us. We either help Ukraine materially and help them fight their war by themselves, or we get in the act. We donate, if you will, the lives of our young people. And I believe most Americans would rather give Ukraine the materiel to win their war rather than give them our young people.
All right, Rick Fisher, thank you so much for your comments today.
Thank you, Don.